sorry, I can't, I struggle to just sit and look at the camera, especially when I'm looking at a window. I can barely keep eye contact with people for so long. Yeah. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, depending on what time it is when you watch this. It's currently the afternoon here, and I am going to do my first knitting podcast with you guys. I've never done one before, but I am going to follow a similar structure to most. There's nothing really unusual about it. I'm going to talk about some of my recent finished objects, and I'm going to speak about the stuff that I am currently focused on, and then I'm going to give you some plans. I don't have any acquisitions, but I do have some leftover yarn from other projects that I might use with projects coming up. So yeah, I want to apologise in advance. This is probably maybe not where I will always sit, but today it's got good lighting and our living room is a very crowded place. I'd like to say before I start, my AirPod is in because I'm filming on my phone, and I find that my sound quality is better with my AirPod in. I hope that's not distracting, as it's my first video. I don't know if this is going to be a long-lasting thing, so I'm not going out and buying myself all the equipment, like a camera and mic and all that, until I know that this is something that is sustaining long term. Like, I know I'm going to enjoy it, but whether it's something that's long term, we will wait to find out. Anyway, let's start with who I am, because this is my first podcast, as I say. I am Nat. I have been knitting for about 1.5 years and I live in Scotland. I am currently wearing 2 of my own designs, 2 things that I've knitted myself. So first we have the Toilichte. This is the first one I made. I made it in 2 colours, which changed every row, and I made it in, oh, that's a hard one to remember now. I think it was leftover knitting for olive, cotton merino in Thundercloud and in dark bottle green, I want to say. And this cardigan I have made myself as well. There you go. It is so it is also of my own design. I made this in Drops Belle moss green, and I used like a dainty chevron pattern. And one thing to note about it is a loose cardigan, and the reason it's called loose is I am a Gaelic speaker, so it's been a long time since I've done any Gaelic, I'll be honest, but I do like to make reference to it. So loose in Gaelic is like plant, and I feel, especially in this green, it kind of looks like a leaf. So I thought it was very, very fitting a name for it. One thing to note about this cardigan is, as much as I love it, I do think I made it really wide. Like, it's a drop shoulder, but the drop comes to like halfway down my my bicep. So I think it would have been better, especially the back panel in my starting, is if I omitted a repeat or 2 of the pattern, and then it would have brought it in a wee bit, and then it would be less likely to fall down my shoulders, because you will probably see at some point in this video my cardigan falling down my shoulders. Anyway, so I'm not sure how long this video is going to be, so grab a drink of your choice. I am drinking a cup of tea today because, as I say, it is the afternoon, and so I don't tend to have coffee in the morning. And let us get started. So because I have never made a podcast episode before, I feel what is best to do for my finished objects is actually just show some of the ones I've made recently. So all of these, again, are my own design. I spent a good year of my knitting journey knitting from patterns, but I've realised that I spend a lot of time knitting. And that means if I'm knitting from a pattern, it doesn't take long for me to finish it and power through. And what I've realised is, if I am designing the pattern, there's obviously chances for mistakes, so there's points where I need to rip back. But for the most part, it slows me down a wee bit because it's all stuff that's new to me. Like this top, the Toilichte tank, the first time I made it took me about 4 weeks. As when I reknit it, and this isn't fingering weight yarn, as when I reknit it, it took me about 2, maybe 3 weeks. So adding that extra layer of, oh, you need to figure out the sizing, how many stitches you need, all the sort of maths involved in like your rate of increases, decreases, shoulders, armholes, neck holes, all that sort of thing is kind of taken into consideration, and takes up some of that knitting time for me. And it's also a good way to engage my brain. Like it's nice. Yes. So my finished objects this time, not in order, I'm going to be absolutely honest with you, is my Coibhneil tea. So Coibhneil in Gaelic is like a word for kind. I'm sure it's been a while, but this is my Coibhneil tea. It is a very big, very boxy t-shirt, and I will be absolutely honest with you. If I had any more yarn, because I used up almost all of my yarn, I think I've got like, I'm lucky if I have like 3 meters of yarn left, just based on leftovers from like the armholes, I think it was, or from the sleeves, not the armholes. If I had more, I would go back and lengthen the bottom, because I'm going to be absolutely honest with you and say that this is just that little bit too small. It has a very wide neck hole, and I'll be honest and say I feel it's wider than I remembered it. So maybe if I remade it again, I would make it a wee bit tighter. It is very drapey, which is nice, but as I say, it would be nice to have it that little bit longer, maybe like only a couple of centimeters, because it's at that point where I like to tuck in my tops and it is just long enough to tuck in, but as soon as you move it comes undone, which is not what I'm after in my tops at all. I'd like them to stay tucked in, but I do also want it to be, me being very picky, I do also want it to still be a length that if I wanted it untucked, it would still look flattering. But there we go. I made this in Drops Belle, and I want to say the colour was navy blue. I might be wrong, but the plan is to put in the description, the plan is to put all of the yarn and any patterns I have in the description. So if there's anything you're not sure of, check there, and if there's any questions, feel free to comment. Like, I'm always happy to let people know what's what. What you're also going to realise in these videos is I do a lot of like moving my hands, and so my hands are just going to be randomly in parts of the video, and I for that apologise. That's, yeah, like right now I can't stop myself. My hands are almost always near my face. So next up is my Toilichte O-neck, and here it is. It is based on most of the sort of tops that I wear. Often to work I wear tops that are high neck but also shoulderless, sleeveless, because in the summer it gets quite warm in my work. So I have made this, so I had my own knit one, because as nice as these are, I don't feel these are appropriate for wearing in my work. They just feel a bit too casual. So I've gone for my O-neck. This was made up in 2 yarns. So I, maybe 2 months ago, bought yarn from Vinted, and it was Sandnes Garn's Lena. It was Sandnes Garn's Lena in Slate Grey. And I originally planned to make my original Coibhneil tee from that. However, what happened was, even with stripes, because I striped it the same as I've done with this, 2 bottles was not nearly enough. I think for the finished Coibhneil tee, it took me about 5 bottles, and that is all of it. So I would honestly think 6 bottles is what I need. So I needed triple the amount than I had. but that's okay because I reclaimed the yarn and I striped it with this. I'm currently posting an Instagram reel, I think there's 4 parts, of me making this because I really wanted to do a project vlog and that was the only way I was going to be able to get it out at the time. And so I made this, as I say. I have the slate grey, and then here is my leftover drops Belle in moss green from finishing off my cardigan, because I am trying not to buy more yarn when there's still yarn in stash for me to use. And I'll be honest and say that throughout the whole of the Instagram videos, I'm turning around and saying I don't know if I like this colour, and I don't hate this colour. It's not my colour. Stripes are not my colour, I should add, but yeah. The thought is I'm gonna give it a few wears, and then if it turns out that it's not for me, I'm gonna dye it. It's not gonna be the end of the world. One mistake that I made with this, I'll be honest and say I was very type B knitting. Very much, it's fine, if it's a mess I'll make another one, and the plan is I will make another one. But what I didn't account for was, as I say, I based it on a t-shirt or a tank top that I tend to wear for my work. However, what I didn't account for was the fact that that top is a ribbed top and this is just a stockinette top, and so it can stretch to some degree. However, like my bust is stretched too much, and that is also part of the issue is me. Like, I have a bigger bust. What I'm learning about myself as I learn to design is that I need to be adding bust shaping in for me, and so I think if I go to make this again, I am probably going to add about 10 stitches to the front, or here or there, maybe some more elsewhere, and then I'm going to do bust shape. I'll then decrease those stitches back out to give an even number on either side. It is what it is. I can wear it. I did wear it. I was a little bit skeptical when I wore it to work because I was a wee bit worried that it was too gapey. However, it was fine. Like, there was no issues. Then the final one I have, so I'm only showing these 3 because they're within the last month of me making. So this is my Toilichte sports bra or bra. The reason it's in the last month, because I think I probably finished it longer than a month ago, is I recently went back and added some elastic to it, which I think was the best thing I could do. And this is made in, it's knitting for Olive cotton merino dusty blue, I want to say, dusty something. I can't remember, but as I say, it will be down below. And I don't actually think I've introduced the Toilichte tops. So I have made a few different versions of like tank tops or the sports bra, in the unique reason that they're Toilichte, why they're not just random names, as all of them have ribbing on the armholes. So there is the ribbing going the whole way up here, all the way down, and it essentially means you don't need to do that. There's a couple places on here where you need to go back and add the ribbing, but for the most part you knit it in pattern. You don't go back and sort it. And it is the same with my O-neck. As you can see, I did have to come back and do my neck, and I will be honest and say that alright, so these are knit at the same time as you work the shoulders. You do need to come back and do the neck, and I made a big mess the original time I went to go and do the neck of this with picking up wrong because it's ribbed stitches going around rather than going up. But anyway, back to the bra. So the bra, again, is another situation where there's points where you need to pick up stitches. I think if I ever made this into a pattern, I would maybe try and find another way for it. But that's that. Another important feature of the Toilichte clothes, tops, sportswear projects is that most of them, not the O-neck because I just didn't want to, have the opportunity for you to put ribbing down the side, and I think it makes it more sporty. Like this has got ribbing down the sides and I think it makes it look quite nice, but I also understand that that's not always what you want, so hence my O-neck. Now on to my works in progress. So my current work in progress is, I would have been nicer if I'd put them on different bits, but it's fine. This is my, I'm still thinking of the name. I'm thinking the Sleat or Slate zipper. And as you can see, I have completed one shoulder. I now need to go and complete this one. So I would have been better if I had them on 2 different needles to show you them better. The main characteristic with this jumper slash zipper, jumper, still a jumper, isn't it? Is the fact that it is in 2x1 rib. So the outside looks like this, and I'm currently making a knitting vlog based on this jumper, and what you'll see in it is I spent a long time going, I don't know what side I want, because this is what the other side looks like. So the inside kind of looks like brioche without it being brioche. There's just something about it that makes it, yeah, it's nice and squidgy. The good thing so far, actually, is these sleeves have been joined very, very neatly. And so it kind of looks like it should be like a one stitch seam going down. And I'm not mad at that. So far, if I wanted to, I could wear it this way or I could wear it the right way out. But I know when it comes to putting the zipper in, that option's got to be taken away from me unless there's a way I can figure it out. It's gonna have to be facing out this way. But it's nice for the moment to know, and maybe it means if I wanted to in future, I could come back, make the same thing, but face it the other way around. I'm going to knit this side along so I can just show you what it will kind of look like a wee bit better. So while I knit the sleeve so it's on the other needle, let's talk a wee bit about the yarn. So the yarn I am using is the Croft Shetland Tweed Aran weight, I want to say it is. This. In the colour Norwich. Norwick. Not Norwich, sorry. And it has been, it has been a really good wool. So I did a lot of research on what sort of wool I was after before I started making this. I was looking into what sort of jumpers I want. So I looked at Cascade yarn because I knew that Cascade 220 can be really quite soft because it is Peruvian Highland wool. However, I do have a jumper I made last year, a colourwork jumper, where it started to bubble within a day of wearing it. So I decided not to use that because I think I would have to hold it with something, and that makes the project more costly, and I'm not really wanting to add cost to it, not at the moment. Then I was also looking at British wool, and I came across Shetland wool, and I was also looking at Norwegian, so I was trying to see the different properties between Norwegian wool and Shetland wool, and the sort of thing that came up in the end was that they were both quite grippy yarns, but Shetland was a wee bit softer. I want to say, don't hold me to it, because I'm going to be honest with you right now and say it's been a while. I think I ordered it back in April. Yeah, so in the end I went for the Shetland wool because it was grippy and it was going to be more sort of good for structure and with me making a zipper jumper, I have made the mistake before when I made my zipper jumper lights in men's. It was for myself, but it was men's. I made the mistake in doing in a superwash merino, and so it's not very good for structure. It's very sort of drapey, which is nice, but I do want a more structured fleece-like zipper jumper. So here is it now. What you can see is I have done pretty much the whole of the front panel on the left side, and I am currently at the neckline for the right shoulder. As I was saying about the yarn, I'm finding that it's been really good and grippy, and I would probably come back and use it for cables at some point, on the basis that if I've had to rip back, I have genuinely just taken the needle out and frogged it, and not really worried about having a lifeline in or inserting my needle lower down, because they don't tend to move that much. Like, you're not worried about dropping any stitches. Like, it's been very good. That's all I have to say on that one. But I will try and show you this. As you can see, I've got the whole of this side. I actually increased some stitches because I am going to do some bust shaping and do some decreases, and hope that that sort of helps with the bust area. What you can see for both of these is this is sort of where the neckline sits. I'm holding it a bit together, but it will eventually be like that, zipped up, and I'm going to add a collar. Not entirely sure the exact length that I'm going for, but there will be a collar that comes and sits up here just to keep me warm. I know it is summer, but I am already thinking about winter. Already thinking about autumn. And my workplace is one of those places where in the summer it's too warm and in the winter it is too cold. So I thought if I make a woolen fleece, I can wear it for that, and I can also just wear it in general. I'm aware that anytime I move, my chair is creaking, so again, that's another thing I want to apologise on. Okay, so now my second work in progress. You may have seen, if you follow me on Instagram, in my last week's whips video, what I have done. I have done nothing in the last week on this jumper. However, here is what we have. This is the only jumper that is not my own pattern. This is the Forget-Me-Not sweater by Florence Miller, or Handmade by Florence. I am making this in different colours of Drop Daisy. I think it's pearl grey, lemonade, cobalt blue, and sage green, I want to say, but don't keep me to that, I'm not entirely sure. So one thing I realised when I was knitting this is two of my colours are very low contrast. Like, you will probably struggle to see that there is a difference between the grey and the yellow. And you can kind of see the difference in the green. However, the blue is very, very obviously different. It is high contrast in comparison. And so the pattern doesn't actually call for stitches, like a couple of dots going down. But I thought with such a big change, what I really needed was to add in a little bit extra colour of the blue the whole way through, so it didn't just look like there was a dot of blue there and then a big chunk of blue down the bottom. Now, I have not long split for sleeves, and you'll probably not be able to see that much of this because the cord is a lot smaller than I actually have. But this is my biggest cord, not including my 150 centimetre cord. And after working with a lot of cotton merinos and cottons recently, I'm not used to how grippy wool is now. Like, I've done a good few projects with cotton, linen and viscose, or cotton merino, and so I'm used to like being able them just slipping off my needles, but with my wooden needles, these are dragging a wee bit more than I would like to admit, which has stopped me knitting on it, if I'm completely honest. I am knitting this in size C, and it isn't for me, it is actually for my gran if she decides she likes it. I'll be honest and say I mainly knit it for me. Like, I wanted to knit this up, but it is not a me thing to wear. Like, I don't see me wearing this as lovely as I think it is and as lovely as I think the pattern is. I am not a very pattern person top. I'm very quick plain. So that will go to my gran probably at Christmas time, so I am in no rush to finish it. So me having worked on it, or me not having worked on it for the last week is not an issue. Like, I have until December. We are currently mid-June. So there's time yet. And finally, I would like to look forward to some of my plans. I have a couple bits of yarn that are left over from other projects that I would like to use. I will start with my leftover. Oh, there's not that much actually. I want to start with my leftover drops Belle. Looking at this now, I'm lucky if this is going to be 50 grams, so it might not work out the way I want it to work out. However, one thing that I would really like to try is to make my, I've moved some of my puzzle. I would like to re-knit this in DK weight. And my thought is, if I've got leftover drops Belle, I could use that. Now, that might not go to plan. It might go to plan. I am terrible, it seems, at understanding how far DK weight drops Belle or that something similar goes. Like, that doesn't go that far. So I might make it, I might not finish it, I might not have enough yarn. I could maybe buy another ball, but then I don't know what's going to be what. So we'll maybe make that. We'll see how that goes. If I do make that, I'm trying not to knit on anything, or I'm trying not to start anything until I have my zipper jumper not in the round, because it's going to be a full zip, but until the armholes in that are all joined, because like, that has been in my head since about March, maybe a wee bit longer, and so I want to make progress on it before I start anything else now. Like, what seems to keep happening to me is I keep starting summertime projects and empowering for them, and I'm solely focused on those. And then I have now got, as I say, 2 of these. I have got the Toilichte Onyx, I have a Toilichte bra, I have a Coibhneil tee. Like, I am not really in need of any more summery items, but these would be nice on, like, nights where it's a bit too warm. And what I actually find, which is silly of me to make it in a cotton merino, is I can find that, especially in the evenings or with longer wear, I can find that cotton merino, when it's tight on my skin, can be quite itchy. So these tops are not too bad because they're quite baggy, like, there's no, like, tightness to the skin. But this being a sports bra, I'm not intending on wearing anything under it, not usually. So it does feel like there's a little itch there. And so if I make it in drops Belle, there is no merino, so there should be no reason to feel quite sensitive. But we'll see how that goes. The other thing I want to make is I would like to make my Toilichte Onyx in a fingering weight version. So I have these leftovers. I don't know if I'm that bothered about it being full length. If it's cropped, that's fine, as long as it goes to, like, near the bottom of my ribs. I don't mind. And it will just be a top for in the house or in the garden or out and about. It won't be the same as my Toilichte toe neck that I've already made, which was planned to be wearing for work, and I will make another DK weight one, but I've just got a few balls of this left. This is my the cotton merino in dusty blue something, and I bought 3 balls of this originally. I have used one to create this top in a different colour. I have used some to create this, and I still have this, so I really just want to finish it. And the thought was, I also, at the same time as buying this, bought knitting for Olive in mole, and I bought 4 of these. So I bought these for making Rebecca Clow's Toilichte tee, and in the end, I think I bought 4. I used 2 and a bit. So this is what I have left of the third ball, and then I've got a full another ball. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I am thinking of holding these 2 together in the same way I have with this top, where I do it line by line. It does mean more faffing around, but I'm using circular needles, so I can just pull it round to the other side and knit that way. Like, it's not a big issue for me. And that would probably use up both of these, but then I'm still left with this, and then I just wonder what I do with this. It's not the most flattering colour on me. Like, I think I've worn the Toilichte tee twice, and part of that is the colour. Yeah, it's nice, but it's not very me, so I'll maybe give it on, see if my friend would like it. But that is that for these. That is my plans. Probably give this away and make probably a somewhat cropped version of the Toilichte tee O-neck, or maybe make it the same as this but cropped, because I quite liked this when it wasn't finished either. My normal Toilichte tank, I was originally knitting it, and it got to a point where actually it was really nice, and I considered just casting it off there. But the whole point of this was to use up a leftover ball, like 2 leftover balls that I had, one of the green and one of the grey, hence why I'm thinking of just doing the same with this. So I will report back to you. I'll let you know whether or not that happens. I'm doing a lot of wiggling around with this. That is the plan, and I will probably start this project, and I probably will start, I put it back in a bag, this somewhat soon. I just need to, for both of them, adapt the patterns that I have already made to fit, or I might just be lazy and make this using this top pattern, but I'll need to adapt the drop spell from the fingering weight into a DK weight and see how it goes. Honestly, I'm honestly just trying to look at using up some of the stuff I've got in my stash. I would like to try some other fingering weight yarns, like Trio 2. I originally thought that Trio 1 was a fingering weight, but a lot of people have said that it doesn't really match it. So I would like to try Trio 2, and I would like to try Trio 3, because I think Trio 3 is like the DK weight one. And I can't quite remember the mix of Trio 3, but I don't think it's got any merino. So again, it would be nice to have some more tops that I could wear in the summer that aren't going to give me any sort of itch. I think that is me for this. Yeah, I don't have any other segments left to do. I think my tea is probably cold because I have been filming now for about 41 minutes. 42 minutes maybe even. And so I have said everything I think I needed to say. If you have any questions for anything that I am making, feel free to comment them below. If you would like to follow my projects more in real time, I do put updates on my Instagram, and you could also go onto my Instagram and follow my project vlog for this, because I put that up on there. Hopefully soon there will be a project vlog for my zipper sweater. We'll see how long it takes me. When I do work on it, it does not take me long to do that much. Yeah, it is actually flying off my needles because of the weight of it, because it's iron weight. But it does, if I knit on it for too long at a time, can give me sore elbows or sore wrists. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I hope you enjoyed. I am going to spend the rest of my day probably knitting because it is miserable outside. So I will probably continue to knit, maybe edit this video to get it just done, and hopefully up during the weekend. And maybe even starting some of these new projects that I mentioned. That is all for me. Thank you if you have stayed to the end, because I have been a rambler. It is what it is. I just needed somebody to chat to. I just needed to be able to tell everybody about what I have been up to. There's not a lot of knitters in my life. There are people who knit, but they are maybe not so deep into the community as I am. For the third or fourth time, I'm going to say goodbye. It was lovely to see you, and I will catch you next time. Thank you very much. Bye.